Hi, my dear students. For today's lesson, we'll talk about null hypothesis, alternative hypothesis, and types of errors in testing hypotheses. First things first, what is hypothesis? A hypothesis is something more than a wild guess, but less than a well-established theory. In science, a hypothesis needs to go through a lot of testing before it gets labeled a theory. In non-scientific world, the word is used a lot more loosely. A detective might have a hypothesis about a crime, and a mother might have a hypothesis about who spilled juice on a rug. Anyone who uses the word hypothesis is making a guess. Let's have an example. Suppose that Mr. Odones has created video lessons to improve the academic performance of grade 11 ABM students. He integrated video lessons in his classes for a month. He claimed that the students improved their academic performance. Now, to test what Mr. Odones' assumption about the effectiveness of video lessons, in testing hypotheses, assumption should be expressed into two opposing statements: the null hypothesis and the alternative hypothesis. Well, let's start with the null hypothesis. The null hypothesis typically represents a statement of no effect, no change, or no difference, while the alternative hypothesis is what you're trying to support or demonstrate. It is often framed as the opposite of the null hypothesis. Now, going back to the example earlier, where Mr. Odones has implemented video lessons to enhance the academic performance of grade 11 ABM students, let's formulate the null hypothesis and the alternative hypothesis. So what's going to be our null hypothesis? So null hypothesis is denoted by HO or H sub 0, while the alternative hypothesis, by the way, is denoted by H small letter a or H sub 1 or H sub a. The null hypothesis can be stated as the integration of video lessons has no significant effect on the academic performance of grade 11 ABM students. Now, the opposite of this statement would be the integration of video lessons has significant effect on the academic performance of grade 11 ABM students. So this is what we're trying to prove, that the integration of video lessons results in a significant improvement in the academic performance. On the other hand, the alternative hypothesis posits that there's a real effect and video lessons have significant impact on improving the academic performance of the students. Now, let's put your understanding to the test. Let's try to answer some of the following questions. You may try to pause this video from time to time so you can analyze each item carefully. The first one is the guidance office personnel at Concepcion Integrated School observed a high rate of absenteeism among students on a weekly basis. To address this issue, they implemented an intervention program. After a month, they asserted that the incidence of absenteeism among students had decreased. What's going to be our null hypothesis? So the null hypothesis can be written as the intervention program has not lessened the number of students committing absenteeism every week. So this null hypothesis assumes that any observed decrease in absenteeism is due to random chance or other factors unrelated to intervention program. The alternative hypothesis, on the other hand, can be written as the intervention program has lessened the number of students committing absenteeism every week. The intervention program has significant impact on reducing absenteeism among students. Number 2, among 9 sections of grade 11 students, the average score was 68%. The teacher selected one section for an intervention activity and employed a different teaching strategy for the same lesson. The subsequent test results for this section showed an average score of 69.5%. Is there sufficient evidence to demonstrate that the new strategy enhanced the student's performance? So what's going to be our null hypothesis here? Now, the null hypothesis can be written as the new strategy did not improve the performance of the students. Now, the alternative hypothesis would be the opposite of this. The new strategy did improve the performance of the students. Next one, Soda Factory asserts that each bottle of each beverage contains precisely 355 ml. However, a consumer representative inspector contends that the factory's beverage is not consistently filled to specified volume of 355 ml. So the null hypothesis can be stated as the average content is 355 ml. So any observed deviations from 355 ml are due to random chance or natural variability in the production process. The alternative hypothesis can be written as the average content is not 355 ml. So that's the opposite of this statement. The alternative hypothesis posits that there is a real difference, and the average volume is either less than or greater than 355 ml. So it's also important to note that the general assumption is the average content is 355 ml. That's why this is our null hypothesis. And the inspector is actually the one contends this statement, saying that the average content is not 355 ml. So, because it can be really confusing for some students to determine which one is the null hypothesis and the alternative hypothesis sometimes. Now, let's do number 4. Is there a significant difference between the academic performance in probability and statistics of boys and girls? So what's going to be our null hypothesis and alternative hypothesis? So the null hypothesis can be written as there is no significant difference in the academic performance in probability and statistics between boys and girls. So what's the alternative hypothesis? There is significant difference in the academic performance in probability and statistics between boys and girls. Let's do number 5. The incidence of COVID-19 cases showed improvement following the implementation of the modified enhanced community quarantine. What's going to be our null hypothesis? The implementation of the modified community quarantine has no significant effect on reducing the number of COVID-19 cases. So the alternative hypothesis would be the implementation of modified enhanced community quarantine results in a significant improvement, reducing the number of COVID-19 cases. When you're running a statistical test to assess these hypotheses, there are essential two outcomes. Two possible outcomes would be fail to reject of the null hypothesis or rejection of the null hypothesis. If we don't find enough evidence to reject the null hypothesis, we use this statement, fail to reject of the null hypothesis. So it means we'll be rejecting the alternative hypothesis. On the other hand, if we don't reject the null hypothesis, it leads to us to accept the alternative hypothesis. Now, once you've reached a decision, there's a chance that errors might occur in your judgment. It's possible to make either a type 1 or a type 2 error in the process. So what is a type 1 or type 2 error? So your null hypothesis can either be true or false. If you reject the null hypothesis while it's true, you're committing a type 1 error, because you should be rejecting it when it's false. When you fail to reject the null hypothesis, while it's true, it's okay. But you fail to reject it when it's false, you're committing a type 2 error. So again, type 1 error is rejecting the null hypothesis when it's true. Type 2 error is not rejecting the null hypothesis when it's false. Well, going back to the example earlier about Mr. Odones, where the null hypothesis and the alternative hypothesis stated as there's no significant relationship between the use of video lessons in teaching math to the academic performance of the students. And the alternative hypothesis is there's significant relationship between the use of video lessons in teaching math to the academic performance of the student. So type 1 error would be rejecting the null hypothesis when the video lessons have no significant effect on the academic performance of grade 11 ABM students. Type 2 error is failing to reject the null hypothesis when the video lessons do have a significant positive effect on the academic performance. Now it's quiz time. You may take a screenshot of each item and we'll check it later. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.